Welcome to the Behind the Bar podcast. I'm Taya, and today we're joined by Richard Allen. If you just want to introduce yourself, who you are, what you do.
Yeah, hi, I'm Richard. Thanks for having me. I'm actually CEO of the Green Room Foundation, which I suppose is my primary role, which is a charity that provides alternative education for kids who've fallen out of mainstream schools. And it's predominantly SEND, so we have a large sort of autistic population, if you like, within our kids. I'm also the director of the Swan Clewer Community Interest Company, which owns and runs the freehold for a pub called the Swan in Windsor.
Perfect. So when did you start up the Green Room Foundation? Like, what made you decide I'm going to found this company specifically for kids out of mainstream school?
Okay, that's an interesting question because I don't think we ever did make that decision.
Was it accidental?
I think a lot of organisations sort of go through that, let's call it an organic process, but it probably had its inception in 2004. We started a theatre company that worked within schools, a specific school in Windsor, and we worked within curriculum, and then we had sort of after-school drama clubs.
Right.
Now that kind of led to those drama clubs kind of led to a very diverse group of kids who would come to see us. It was a sort of a safe space for expression and creativity. And then that kind of led within the school, the leadership teams of the school would start sending us kids who were perhaps on the fringes and not succeeding because they'd found a connection with us. So that was perhaps our start. And then we started doing some sort of alternative projects for those kids who were in fear of exclusion. And then we found our own space and started working with kids who'd been out of education for a long time. With our school on the street, our kids were leaving us at the age of 16 and going back into mainstream colleges or going into apprenticeships and employment sometimes. But that was a very difficult transition for them. And our school was next to a pub, and I used to look into the pub garden and go, God, that pub is there. It's got a kitchen that's running, it's got a bar that's running, it's serving coffee and food and drinks, and it's empty.
Yeah.
I wonder if there was a way that we could start doing some work there. It was difficult to sort of put a school into a pub, so started looking for freeholds. And it was at that point that came across the Swan.
So how long ago was that now that you've been at the Swan?
We formed the CIC in 2018 and sort of started the campaign. And it was then that I teamed up with Windsor and Eton Brewery, Willie Calvert there, and we had a conversation, and he was like, well, I'd be interested in the Swan, but it's a bit out of the way. It's in a village that's sort of just to the west of Windsor. It doesn't have a lot of footfall. It doesn't really work. It won't work as a pub. And in fact, it had proved that the last 10 years it had been in a steady decline for a long time. So it does need something more than a pub.
Yeah.
And he was like, why do you want a pub? And I said, well, I want to put a school in a pub. He's like, okay, well, that's something more than a pub.
Yeah.
So that sort of joint venture there, the Windsor and Eton Brewery is a wonderful establishment. It's got a big community ethos. Us as a school, so then bringing those two things together, so we want to bring education more into the community. We want to give our kids a chance for some real sort of experiences in life in order to prepare them for real experiences in life, you know. So we stood up in the brewery and sort of had a bit of campaign trail, and a local group gave us the kind of platform to register the pub as an asset of community value, which we did, which gave us sort of dibs on putting an offer in. And then at that point we were up against developers and Tesco's Express, things like that. But they accepted our offer, and we bought the pub in 2019 and got the keys then.
Right before COVID, so
right
I imagine
before
that.
COVID, yeah. And the pub had been closed for 3 years. I mean, it was blooming with mould, wet
amazing.
rock, dry rock. So we had to strip the whole thing.
So it was probably a while before you actually got any kids inside the pub.
Well, we focused really first on the bar area and one of the rooms upstairs. And what's great about the Swan is that it's an old coaching inn, so it's got a coach house and it's got stables.
Yeah.
And behind the sort of main pub is an annex that used to be the coroner's court back in the 19th century. And upstairs there the room was actually okay, so we turned that into a classroom.
Oh,
So
nice.
we had a bar downstairs
Yeah.
and a classroom upstairs. Since then, we've done loads more
Yeah.
sort of development. Not development, we've refurbished, so we have more space. But that, so we did start with 3 or 4 kids in 2019,
And how many kids do you have now?
about 25.
Oh, so a lot of growth since then.
Yeah, yeah.
And will you always stay around 25, or are you aiming to like grow more?
No, I think that's probably. I mean, I said that when we sort of hit 15, but it's a model that works.
Yeah.
And actually, the space for the kids run the pub every Thursday.
Right.
So they're behind the bar, they're in the kitchen, they're front of house, they're doing the marketing. We've got a shop on the site where they sell their sort of crafts and market produce from our allotment and things like that. So it's become a bit of an enterprise day.
Yeah.
But the rest of our curriculum is not all pub centric. We do maths and English.
Yeah.
We go on trips and we do a lot of sort of preparing for adulthood stuff, and we do things like big thinking. We talk around. Inspire our values are kindness, curiosity, and change. So it's a place of kindness. We create a space for sort of physical and psychological safety in order for them to be brave and to challenge their comfort zones, if you like. And so the pub is an element of that, but that bleeds into different areas of the curriculum. So we're there 4 days a week.
You say you've got both your basic maths, English, classroom work. Then you've got work experience, if you will, in the pub. And I know you've got like bike repairs. I've heard that you do that.
Yeah.
Have you always had all these things on offer, or has this grown over the years and you've added things, taken things away?
Well, I mean, I've just told you our history, so we started as a beer company. So we've always had a strong sort of project-based learning approach, if you like. So, in theatre, you're always going towards an end goal of a performance or whatever. So, but that end goal can be put into various different things. It could be an event, it could be collaborating on a book or a piece of artwork or a charity initiative or whatever that sort of thing is. And the Green Room College, which is at the Swan, is very focused on that. So we're trying to create individuals who can go on into adult life, who are kind and resilient and curious about things and will challenge themselves. And all those kind of softer skills, if you like, we've put not just on an equal status with academic learning, but probably on a higher status. Because if you look at the kids who've been through our education, I'd meet them as alumni and say, well, what was the greatest thing that you learned at school? And more often than not, they'll talk about communication.
Yeah, well, I remember I went through mainstream school,
Right.
but I was very introverted, scared of talking to people, not very confident in myself. It was only once I got work experience and I was forced into, being behind a till or a bar that I grew that confidence. But I was 18 by that point.
Yeah.
And I still wasn't confident after that job. It's only like as the years go on. But if you're leaving college already knowing how to communicate with people, having that confidence in yourself, it's a lot better than waiting years and putting it off. And, well, if I could have put it off, I would have put it off.
Yeah.
So you're talking about alumni that have come back. Are there any success stories that you're so proud of, like having kids come back to you and be like, this is what I've done since leaving the Swan?
Oh, I mean, yeah, there's plenty. But it's not 100%. We've actually just made contact this week and sort of cast the net out to all alumni just to sort of find out what's going on, because the ones that get in touch with us are generally successful.
Yeah.
Or they're asking for help. Life is a very complicated space, and especially if you're going in with, you've got your own neurodivergence, and actually that society isn't necessarily set up for success in a lot of areas. I think with specifically to the pub, some of our students have gone on to work at the pub. So you talk about your school life. If you put one day every week of your school experience as work experience, let's say, I mean, this is just sixth form, so every day of your sixth form life, one day a week you were going to work. By the time you finished that 2 years, you're pretty ready for work, I
Yeah.
would suggest. And so that work experience is during the day, but we also do something called the Green Canteen in the evenings, where the pupils who are successful in their sort of work experience and feel comfortable and capable enough will run an evening service for dinner, and we pay them for that. So that's
Nice.
that's great because, you know, you can see kids on results day getting a GCSE certificate and they're pleased. You see them get a pay packet.
Yeah.
You're like, oh my God, I was doing that for free at school today.
Yeah.
And now in the real world, you get paid for that.
Yeah.
And making that sort of connection is great. And then some of those pupils have gone on to work, so at the green room, kids at the pub wear green polo shirts. It's got the
Right.
Swan on it and it's got their name on it, whatever. The pub staff wear grey ones, so they just go from the green shirt to the grey shirt, and they're like something. And you look at them and go, right, you've got a job now.
Yeah.
And you know the statistics around autistic working age adults, 30% are in employment. So that's 70% who are unemployed. And that's not because they can't work, and it's not because they don't want to work either. It's because the workplace is such a challenge, can be such a challenging environment for them. But it doesn't need to be that way. And so when you see it working in real life there at the Swan, that's great. Then when you see them go and get their next job, because they've got the work experience of the green room and the green canteen, and then they've got a job on their CV that they've done, and then they've got an employer's reference and so on and so on, and then they go their next job. I suppose our first ever pupil to do that, he still works at the pub now, but every time I see him come in with a grey shirt, and what's great about it is that when he got his first flat on his own, the pub community bought him housewarming presents, and everybody knows who he is, and they understand that he works in a slightly different way to everyone else, but they've adapted to that, and it hasn't made the standards any less at the pub. In fact, it's made it richer and a warmer space. And last year we won the best community pub in Britain.
Oh, nice.
And I think that's partly down to the feeling that you have in the pub. It's we don't have, on the window, it doesn't have autism aware or safe space or for all. It just is a safe space for all, and all pubs should be. You know. And our pub general manager has just got to the final of the BII.
He has.
Am I allowed to say that?
He is allowed. You are allowed to say that.
Yeah. Which is great, and actually BII has been a real sort of support for him, and it's great for him to have that sort of validation that what he's doing in the pub, even though it's perhaps slightly different to what the expectations of a general pub manager would be, it's recognised by the industry as being something that's really, really great. So we're all rooting for him. He's got the finals coming up quite soon, I think.
Yeah.
Which looks like quite a daunting
It's an intense day. Yeah, it's an intense day, but a fun day.
Yeah, great.
Yeah. Speaking of hospitality or pubs, what advice would you give someone who wants to accommodate to, people with autism or people that possibly have more difficulties in the workplace?
Well, I think that this is something that we've been learning. I think most of our staff had some kind of hospitality experience, and I think that's what's great about the hospitality industry is that if you were going to hang your hat on something, somewhere you're going to go for work experience, it should almost be like national service. Go and do a bit in a pub or a restaurant or something, because the skills that you get there, working as a team, the communication skills, the organisation skills.
They're very transferable, aren't they?
Yeah, hugely transferable, and can go into leadership, can go into pretty much anything. It's a great sort of foundation for working life. Give it that status. So understand that what you're doing, also the task in the job, it's not that difficult. You've got to stack that shelf, you've got to pour that drink, you've got to do it, but you can do that well.
Yeah.
And actually, it's a people industry. So it's all about the people that you're working with. And if you can work with people in this industry where anything can happen, anyone can come through that door, at any point, you can transfer that to other people industries. And actually, where we are with technology and AI and stuff like that, it's those skills that are perhaps even more valued now than they have been. So we've learnt, okay, well, first up, teach them the tasks. This is how you make a good coffee. This is how you pour a drink.
Yeah.
This is how you welcome someone when they arrive. This is what the space should look like, keeping it clean, so you know that table 6 has 5 chairs around it. It's got a clean thing. It's got a menu. And that's ready for the next. Like those sort of basic, clear expectations. I mean, that's with any job. That's what you want. But then understanding that doing those tasks when there's people in the room requires other skills. When kids first join us, when we first open, we open, it's called Epic Thursdays on the first week of term. It's like you're straight in.
Yeah.
It's not like you give you 6 weeks of training and then you start.
Yeah.
It's like this is the best way to learn. But the staff are there, and so they say, right, we've got some customers. Come with me, and they sort of model that thing.
Yeah.
So you've got that sort of shoulder to shoulder support, and then that gradually steps back. It's like learning anything.
Yeah.
You do it with them, you watch them, and then you leave them for independence. But they know that support is always there, and no question is stupid, and you can always sort of create that. And then you create that team, so that everyone who's doing that knows that they can have that sort of peer support there. I think it's also really important for an employer or anyone working in any space to understand what the boundaries are around not just your expectations, but if somebody was to come into the pub and was rude to a staff member, that the establishment would has a line and would say to the customer, listen, that kind of behaviour is not what this pub is all about. Could you modify that, or you're not welcome here anymore, or what? And that creates a space of safety for the employees. Because if it's just like, you just need to suck it up and get on with it, it will be all right. It's not going to kill you, or whatever, or whatever that sort of comes back to the employee. You're like, well, if that's okay, well then what else is okay? And the minute you don't feel supported by the place that you work for, you don't feel safe.
Yeah.
And you've got to feel safe in order to be brave.
Yeah.
It's not creating a sort of a nanny state. It's just going, okay, well, my basic need is that, and in order to be brilliant and courageous and audacious, I've got to feel safe first.
Yeah.
And if I feel safe, I will push myself. But if you don't give me that safety, I'm always going to be in a state of fear.
Yeah.
And certainly we know with autism, the minute that state of fear creeps in, you're going to either mask it completely and have internal meltdowns, or you're going to melt down.
Yeah. And
either of those states are not good for the person that's having them or the people around them.
Yeah.
But also acknowledging that can happen, and saying, and that's okay. And the sensory overload that comes part and parcel with autism is, it's because there's way more synapses on your neurons. Like it's real. This isn't a fake thing. Like, if you need to wear ear defenders, wear ear defenders. If you need a safe space or a quiet space, let's say, to go and de-escalate or to calm yourself, then have a space that's available, that is there, and don't make that space just for your autistic employees.
Yeah.
Make that for everybody.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, my God, how many people in the hospitality just need 10 minutes?
Yeah.
And I think, there used to be a lot of smokers in the hospitality industry. You don't see that so much anymore. But that 10 minutes was, no, you don't have to, you don't need it. You shouldn't need to sort of start smoking in order to get that break.
Definitely not, no.
Do you know what I mean? So So you've got that safety, you've got that understanding of need, and that kind of being adaptable to that. And they are not, that's not crazy expectations.
No.
And it's not purely for the benefit of your neurodivergent staff.
Yeah.
It's for the benefit of everybody.
So you also mentioned how the community is such a huge aspect to the school and to the Swan. How did you come about that? Was the community always there? Did you have a reputation already with the community, or was it a gradual thing that grew over the years?
What's been wonderful about our community, and what would be wonderful about any community, is that people want to do good things, you know.
Yeah.
They want a place that they feel that has some purpose. They get behind the values of the establishment, and the pub has its own values, its inclusivity and sustainability and responsibility and community. And I think there's a bit of a shift within society now where people are looking for that. They'd rather spend their pounds on a pint that's going to something that has value than to profit the shareholders of a big multinational or whatever. And I think you see that across retail and everything. So I think the community come in with that, love the purpose. They also have high expectations of what, you know, that, and also because we've got like 116 investors, and we've had loads of people who've lent us money.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of people who think they own the pub, and they do. Do you know what I mean? So they will come in with suggestions, and you've got to listen to that. You know, we have open forums where the community come in and say, can we do something better with food? Or why do we have karaoke every Saturday? I don't like karaoke. And it stopped me coming in and go, okay, right, that's a good point. We were trying to get people in, but actually it's keeping. So you've got to have that sort of relationship with your customers. And in response to that, you'll get customer loyalty. And what's been brilliant is the customers then come and go, can I start a dog walking group? And we'll just come here on a Saturday morning, we'll have a coffee, and then we'll go for a walk and then come back and have a pint. You go, yeah, of course you can.
Yeah.
That's great. What do you need? Just make sure we've got dog bowls and you know and some doggy biscuits. And yeah, of course, we've got that anyway. And that's one that just started recently. We've got a chess club that's just about to start up. We've got mahjong, we've got cribbage, all those board games, those things. Like, not everybody comes to the pubs to drink now.
Yeah.
So that the community have felt that they've got that sense of belonging at the pub, and that they have a voice. That voice is heard, and that their ideas can become reality.
Yeah.
And so now we have nearly 30 community groups.
Oh, wow.
And Fixing Bikes, of course, is, you know, that's another charity that's part of it. And you've got to sort of think about the limited resources that we have. Where's the best place to spend that? And it's on the people and what they want from the pub. And you know, the school is an element of that.
Yeah.
But it's only one of the pillars of what the Swan really is all about.
Amazing. Well, thank you for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And thank you for explaining everything wonderful about the Green Room and the Swan.